Have you ever felt like your real life hasn't actually started yet? Like your current job, your relationship, and your daily routine are just temporary placeholders. You sit in the lobby of your own life, watching the years spin past, waiting for some grand destiny to finally text you back. In psychology, this state of endless waiting is called the provisional life. This feeling is the defining symptom of an epidemic quietly paralyzing millions of young men. Today, we are tearing apart the psychology of the manchild. We are going to look at the specific brain science, the early childhood conditioning, and the dark psychological archetype that keeps people trapped in a state of endless, paralyzed potential. You've probably seen this specific kind of paralysis. It looks like a guy who has a million brilliant ideas but zero finished projects. He's charming, deeply intelligent, and vibrating with capability. But when it comes to actually locking down a career, committing to a partner, or just doing his own laundry, he vanishes. There is always a reason. The job is too soul-crushing, or the system is too rigged. Pop culture dismisses him as a man-child, but the legendary Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung had a very different diagnosis for this condition. He called it the Puer Aeternus, the eternal boy. Every psychological trait has a shadow, and the shadow of the eternal boy is a deep-seated absolute terror of being tied down. You can see this in a branching decision tree. Any definitive choice feels like a death sentence. Committing to one path kills off 1,000 imaginary lives, so you choose nothing. You hover, hoarding your potential in a frictionless fantasy that never arrives. The eternal boy suffers from a chronic allergy to reality. The second a relationship gets boring, or a creative project gets difficult, his nervous system hits the eject button. This kind of paralysis doesn't happen by accident. The architecture of a man-child is built early on, almost always through a profound emotional misattunement with parents. In the 1970s, analyst Marie-Louise von Franz noted that the eternal boy is nearly always the product of a mother complex. This usually points to the overprotective, hovering, snowplow parent. Resilience is a biological skill you only get by facing stressors, failing, and surviving. When a parent clears every obstacle out of your path, they steal your ability to build that resilience. They unknowingly program your brain to believe you are too fragile to survive the world on your own. Combine this with the modern crisis of dad deprivation. In depth psychology, the father figure represents the boundary-setting energy that pushes a child out of the nest and into the friction of the world. When that energy is absent or entirely passive, a massive void of purpose forms. The boy never achieves the psychological exit velocity needed to launch into adulthood, but the parents are only half the equation. We have to look at the literal hardware inside your head. Behaviors like poor impulse control, chronic daily procrastination, and the inability to plan are all governed by the prefrontal cortex, the command center right behind your forehead. Neurobiology shows us the mechanical delay here. The prefrontal cortex has the absolute last part of human anatomy to finish developing. As visualized in this cross-section, the myelination process, the insulation of your neural pathways, often doesn't finish until your late 20s. If you retreat into digital escapism, like gaming or doom scrolling, these circuits harden around instant gratification before your adult brain fully comes online. You literally biologically wire yourself for dependency. You end up with the physiological drives of a fully grown adult, but the emotional regulation of a teenager. 50 years ago, society forced you to grow up. There was a strict linear path. You finished school, you were expected to graduate and immediately secure a stable job. Following that, you would settle down and buy a house, and you would commit to starting a family. The social pressure was immense. Modern culture provides the perfect camouflage for this psychological arrest. We've rebranded a clinical fear of commitment as exploring the gig economy, and labeled chronic instability as finding oneself. This environment allows the eternal boy to hide his paralysis behind a veil of modern lifestyle choices, but Peter Pan cannot survive in a vacuum. He requires a Wendy. This dynamic usually traps highly competent, deeply ambitious partners who have a subconscious fear of abandonment. They are drawn to his chaotic, childlike energy because it feels like a vacation from their own hyper-responsible lives. But the vacation ends, and you find yourself functioning as a surrogate parent, paying the bills, scheduling appointments, absorbing the unglamorous infrastructure of life. You trick yourself into believing that if you fix his resume one more time, his potential will unlock. Instead, you are caught in what this flowchart illustrates as the accommodation trap. Every time you save him from his own avoidance, his dependency deepens. Your well-intentioned rescuing subconsciously signals to him that he is entirely incapable of surviving without you. Your love acts as the enabler of his paralysis, funding the fantasy that keeps him sick. If you are the partner or the parent, the intervention is brutal but absolutely necessary. Based on a clinical framework called the SPACE program, you must execute a unilateral withdrawal of the safety net. You stop paying rent, making appointments, and shielding them from reality. You let them fall, because hitting the hard ground of consequence is the exact necessary friction required for them to finally realize they have their own legs. They have to face the terror of the world to understand their capacity to survive it. And if you are the eternal boy, the cure is the exact thing you have been running from. In Jungian psychology, the antidote to the eternal boy is the senex, the old man. It is the archetype of discipline, boundaries, limitation, and structure. For this archetype, shadow work is found in the mundane. It is doing the dishes. It is holding an entry-level job and refusing to quit when the boss is slightly annoying. It is staying in the room while experiencing the excruciating friction of being a beginner. You must realize that the boundaries of adulthood, paying bills, committing to one person, choosing a single path, are not cages. They are the vessel. Without a rigid vessel, your boundless potential just dissipates into the air like gas. You have to willingly pour your potential into the heavy, boring, messy vessel of reality to actually exist in the world. Your real life isn't waiting for you over the horizon. It is right here, in the boredom and in the effort. The exact moment you stop waiting for a perfect future and choose to bear the heavy weight of the ordinary present is the moment you finally grow up.